Hey, today we, the math department, Mr. Fellner, Mr. Lynn, and Mr. Linscott, that's me, I've decided that we're going to do a short video on how to solve equations. And these are just basic one-step equations. So we'll go ahead and get started. You notice that we have an addition equation, a subtraction equation, a multiplication equation, and a division equation. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. And if you notice here, the variable's in position 2. Okay, which means the variable is coming second. It's coming after the number. And what I want to do is I want to use the commutative property and have my variable come first. And I'm just a creature of habit. I like to do that. And it's actually been very good to me over the years. So now we have z plus 14 is equal to 49. Okay, this is an addition equation. So I like to tell my students that we need to do the anti-Nike slogan. Okay, Nike slogan says to just do it. But with equations, you want to undo it. So we must undo the addition. So instead of adding 14, we will subtract 14. So we subtract 14 from the left-hand side of the equation, and we subtract 14 from the right side of the equation. And something else that I like to do, I like to circle the addition of 14 and subtraction of 14, indicating that these two operations will cancel one another out. This leaves me with the z all by itself. I've isolated the z. I have my equal sign, and I just perform the subtraction. 49 minus 14 gives us 35. And at this point, this is our solution. And what we should always do with this solution is take it and plug it back in. Plug it in to the original equation. Make sure it works. 14 plus 35, is that 49? Well, if you can do it mentally, that's great. If you need to go ahead and write it out here to the side, feel free to do that. 4 and 5 is 9, 1 and 3 is 4. We end up with 49. Life is good, we're happy, we move on. Okay. Problem 2, we have a subtraction equation. Once again, we want to get the variable by itself. Notice that the variable's in position 1. I like this equation the way it's written. So I need to get the variable by itself. I need to undo the subtraction of 30. So I want to do the opposite of that. I want to add 30 to each side of the equation. What I do to one side, I do to the other. And once again, my little thing that I do, subtracting 30, adding 30, inverse operations, they cancel. That leaves us with the variable all by itself. We've isolated the m. 35 plus 30 is 65. And just like I did on the first one, I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it back in just to make sure everything works. I have $65. I spend $30, give 30 to Mr. Lynn. Speaking of that, I do owe Mr. Lynn some money. That is equal to 35, so that does work. Okay? Moving on to the next one, multiplication equations. And I know this is multiplication because there's no symbol in here. Whenever you see a number beside a variable, it means to multiply. It's just a shortcut way that mathematicians have come up to indicate multiplication. So once again, if you'd like, you could put a little dot in there just to remind yourself that it is multiplication. My slogan, remember, just undo it. So to undo the multiplication by 12, I'm going to divide each side by 12. Quickest way to show division is through the use of a fraction bar. And now as we take a look at it, once again, 12 divided by 12, well, that actually gives me 1. And 1 times f is going to be f. Now a lot of people will just say those cancel out, and that's fine. It isolates the variable, and on the right hand side we have to do the division. How many times will 12 go into 84? Feel free to use a calculator. You'll come up with 7. Once again, check it. 12 multiplied by 7, 12 times 7, 7 times 2 is 14, carry your 1. 7 times 1 plus 1 is 8, 84. Checks, we move on. And the last one. Now, as I first glanced at this, I thought those were both 5s, but this is an S. And that's the bad thing about using the variable S, is S's sometimes look like 5s. And when you guys write things, make sure you're very meticulous with these. Okay, but this is a division problem. To undo division, we multiply. So instead of dividing by 5, and that's what this fraction bar means, we're going to multiply by 5. Multiply the left-hand side by 5, the right-hand side by 5. What happens on the left? Well, this 5 is actually over 1. And remember, we can cancel diagonally. Those two will cancel, leaves us with S all by itself. We've isolated the S, and 9 times 5, 45. At this point, plug it back in, make sure it works. 45 cut into 5 equal groups gives you 9. Okay, so we've covered, and that's very quick tutorial on solving one-step equations. I think that the big things: make sure that you undo the operation that's being performed on the variable. Make sure that you isolate the variable, and then when you get the answer, which is known as the solution, make sure that you plug it back in, just to make sure that it's right.